Tonight, Palestinians grieve the death of Khader Adnan, a hunger striker who lost his battle with life after 3 months of Israeli detention. And Canada calls for mediation efforts in Sudan during a phone call with Djibouti's president. The two leaders also discuss bilateral ties. We cover stories about Indian Navy officers detained in Qatar for spying, calls to speed up work on the China-Myanmar economic corridor, and a new viral song.
Salam Ya Mahdi.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Catherine Bullock. A Palestinian hunger striker has died today in Israeli custody. This is nearly 3 months after being detained over his ties to the Islamic Jihad militant group. His death is drawing global condemnation of Israel. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh describes the death of Khader Adnan as a, quote, deliberate assassination. The news of the death was followed by 3 rockets fired from Gaza militants. The Israeli army says the rockets fell in open areas and did not cause any casualties. The Palestinian Prisoners Club says Adnan, who was 45 years old, was the first Palestinian to die as a result of a hunger strike. The advocacy group's director says other Palestinian detainees have died as a result of attempts to force feed them. Palestinians shut shops as they observed a general strike in West Bank cities in response to Adnan's death. The Arab League says Adnan's death was the result of a policy of deliberate medical negligence. They believe this policy is a systematic practice of the Israeli occupation authorities. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been talking on the phone with Djibouti's President Ismail Omar Guelleh about ongoing mediation efforts in Sudan. A statement released by the Prime Minister's office says the Canadian government is greatly concerned about the conflict and its impact on the citizens. During the phone call, Trudeau thanked Guelleh for helping Canada's evacuation operations. The two leaders also discussed bilateral ties. Trudeau offered Canada's support for a peaceful solution to the conflict. The two rival generals are fighting for control of Sudan. Since mid-April, at least 528 people have been killed and more than 4,500 injured. 8 former Indian Navy officers are in prison in Qatar for spying for Israel on a Qatari submarine program. They could face the death penalty. The former officers were arrested in August last year. An Indian news outlet says New Delhi has consular access to the officers and has been trying to get them released. However, Doha officials say evidence suggests the officers passed on intelligence to Israel. The officers were senior employees of a company responsible for advising Qatar on how to get Italian submarines that can evade detection. A Pakistani media source says the company is now being shut down. 75 employees who are Indian nationals are being let go by the end of May. The officers went to their first trial in March. The second trial should be held this month. Please stay tuned. We will join you after a short break. For the 4th year in a row, an independent commission in the United States is recommending that India's government be added to a religious freedom blacklist. The report cites worsening conditions last year for India's religious minorities. These minorities include Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Dalits, and indigenous peoples known as Adivasis. In its annual report that was released yesterday, the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom calls on the US Department of State to designate India as a country of particular concern. In the report, the Commission notes that in spite of their previous recommendations, the US government has not designated India as a country of particular concern. Instead, the US and India continue promoting economic and technological ties. Last year, the trade between the two countries reached $120 billion, making the US India's largest trading partner. The watchdog can only offer recommendations. It has no power to implement changes in policy. There is little hope the recommendations will be implemented, as the US continues to strengthen its ties with India to counter China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. China's foreign minister wants its southern neighbor Myanmar to speed up establishing an economic corridor. The minister went today to a border area with Myanmar in southwestern Yunnan province. He stressed the need to fight cross-border crimes. He also called for the promotion of bilateral trade. Myanmar is currently ruled by a military junta that overthrew the previous civilian National League for Democracy government 2 years ago. The corridor, known as the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, was signed in September 2018. The corridor is 1,700 kilometers long and will connect the Chinese city of Kunming to the city of Mandalay in central Myanmar. It includes infrastructure projects such as roads, railways, and ports. The minister's trip to the border came a day after meeting with the UN Secretary General's Special Envoy on Myanmar. The song Salam Ya Mahdi has taken social media by storm. The song, which has gone global, calls for the coming of the Muslim leader Imam Mahdi. Singers from different nationalities pledge their allegiance to the leader in their languages. Muslims unanimously believe in the coming of a reformer who will end oppression and create a united Muslim ummah or community. Some Muslims believe that that reformer will be Imam Mahdi. Imam Mahdi's name is not mentioned in the Quran. The song is sung by local artists and groups of Muslim children. So far, there are Palestinian, Indonesian, Farsi, Arabic, Nigerian, French, English, Turkish, and Spanish versions of the song available. The trend has also reached Canada. 2 versions of the song have been released from Ottawa and Montreal. Thank you for watching. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on the broadcast or go to our website muslimnetworktv to make a donation so that we can continue to amplify Muslim voices in Canada and abroad.